Oh, wait, wrong song. And
We're coming in mellow. We're coming in mellow.
Oh my gosh, we're in the middle of the Cardinals series, and the Padres split the series with the Giants. There's a game happening right now. Hopefully it's better than the knuckleballer that pitches not so knuckleballs. Let's have some fun on Padres Talking Padres. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Padres Talking Padres, your favorite Padres podcast, hosted exclusively by real Padres. My name is Jay. Right? I think it's the only one. Probably not. But
it's
whatever.
the number one Padres talking about the Padres podcast out there with three Padres fans.
With three Padres, you know?
Yeah.
Lifelong.
And let's look at how many years, if you add them all together, we outdo everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. I'm the young buck, and I've been a fan for 30-something years.
Yeah, so there you go.
Actually, let's see. I've been a fan since 88. How many years is that?
36.
36 years.
Jerry just couldn't let me have it.
I got 55.
Yeah. You both have 55, right? Because you've been fans since 69?
Since day one.
Day one. Yep.
First game I ever went to, I think, was a Reds game. Reds went to that stadium. Was so big as a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't really the San Diego Stadium was not that big when it first opened up. It became enormous because a certain football team wanted to make it bigger. But yeah, it was the Reds, and I think I've told the story before. Uncle Ray got me an autograph. One of the Reds players he knew, and I used to play catch with that ball.
Oh, really?
It wasn't Babe Ruth. It wasn't. That's the same guy. No, I just. And what I used to do is after I play, I would get my pin out and trace over it and keep making it darker, even though the ball was all beat up and stuff. I didn't have a baseball, so I would play. Anyone who would play catch, I would play catch. Did you have a ball? I got one. It's sitting on this little trophy thing, but I put it on there. I have no idea where that ball is now. I think
most of my memories early on were mostly radio at the first. I remember listening to Jerry Coleman and Dave Campbell later on, but it was Bob Chandler. With Jerry Coleman.
Who should be in the Padre Hall of Fame?
He should be.
Yeah.
Sure.
A lot of memories of listening with my dad on the radio because we were kind of a lower middle class and didn't go to a whole lot of games until I was more along the lines of Little League. A couple of years later, we started going to the games. I remember. One of the pictures of my dad had a little Datsun truck, and there's all 11 of us from my Little League team sitting in the back going to the Padre games.
Was that 7-Up Junior 7-Up Padre games? Remember?
I actually was in that for a couple of years. Yeah, where you got to go, and then I got to work at the stadium for a year. So
that's awesome.
My dad used to get these sheets of tickets for 7-Up Junior Padres. And he'd give them to everybody on our baseball team.
Yeah.
And like you said, we'd pile into a camper or we'd pile into someone's truck and, you're sitting all over the place. I mean, I don't know if anyone died. I can't remember. But it was $1, but you sat up top.
Yeah.
But who cared? If you were at the game and you're seeing, I remember watching Willie Mays play.
Yeah.
Of course, he was.
If I remember, I believe it was $1 for 6 games.
I think it was 7 games. It was 7-Up.
Yeah. But
that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
They needed crowds because until Randy Jones came along, which was kind of the first time where you saw San Diego pride in a team, was when Randy Jones. I just happened to be lucky enough. I was a vendor in 1975 and 76.
What did you sell?
Hot dogs here. Give me a hot dog. Yeah. I used to be able to watch most of the games except for when Randy Jones pitched, because when Randy Jones didn't pitch, they averaged something like 3,500, somewhere around there.
It's like a modern A's baseball game.
Yeah. Oh, no. And then when Randy Jones, it went all the way up to 20,000, So I was actually busy the nights that Randy Jones pitched. But
sometimes there'd be more than that because it was Randy Jones.
Yeah.
Again, he pitched that game that lasted an hour and 29 minutes. I was there. him and Jim Cott. I remember, is the game over? My dad goes, yeah.
Now there's a pair going against each other. Yeah, Jim Cott and Randy Jones. Yeah.
Just get the ball and throw it. Just get the ball and throw it, because that was Randy Jones's philosophy. And if you're a fielder, they always say the fielders are happy when nothing's worse. At least they got the pitch clock now.
Yeah.
I used to hate like a Gaylord Perry. That guy was a human rain delay.
He had to put a lot of spit on the ball and stuff.
That's true. That's true. But he would take so long to throw the ball. It's like, I don't know. And like was it Jim Harbaugh? No, not Jim Harbaugh. Who was Hargrove? Who was the first baseman we had?
Mike Hargrove was actually nicknamed the human rain delay. He played for the Cleveland Indians
and the Rangers.
And he would take so long in between pitches because he would step out of the box, adjust his gloves, kick the dirt a little bit. Yeah.
He played for the Padres, I think, at least one season. It's like, oh my God, this guy, just get up there and bat.
Yeah. I
mean, most games we were losing anyway, so just come on.
Yeah, get it over with. Yeah.
And I was too young to buy beer, so it wasn't like I was, how many 7-Ups or Pepsis can I drink in a game?
That's for me, I was not alive then, but the thing that made me a fan was starting lineup action figures in 1988. They made a Tony Gwynn, and Jack, I don't know if you remember this or not, but you bought me that Tony Gwynn figure, and you said, Jay, this is a really good player, and he's on our team, and and
I remember that.
This is our guy, and I was just like, oh my God, this is Tony Gwynn. He's a great player. I was 3 or 4 or whatever. And I was just like, that was it. I was like, Tony Gwynn's my guy, and Padres are my team.
And that was and I was actually right. So
you were.
He's the reason we go to the games.
Yeah.
And that was
for a few years. He was the only reason. And then
Randy Jones I remember going, hey, Randy Jones is pitching. Can we go to the game? All right, okay. Because my dad, we were like Jerry, his family, lower middle class,
working class,
and we had there's 4 kids, mom, dogs, and cats, and no cats. But my dad used to sit in the garage with he had this old radio, and I can't believe he got rid of it. This thing was he bought it with picking fruit or something. He used to pick apples and stuff. Anyway, he would sit in the garage, and he used to sit in the dark. He used to love sitting in the dark, and all you would see is the cigar embers.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the weekends, I would go in the garage and listen to the games with him. Now he's a huge Cardinals fan, but he would listen to the Padre game because it wasn't today where you can go on the internet and get any game you want. It was games were not on TV. If you got 10 games a year, 15 games a year, usually the big thing was watching, NBC Game of the Week on Saturday. And they, for a while, had Monday Night Baseball, which once in a while the Padres would be on. But that was it. And when I was a kid and I go to bed, we had the transistor radio. I'm sure Jerry had one. And all it had was the one earplug.
Oh, we lost him.
He was like, one earplug that, like, oh, yeah, thanks, Jerry. And it would go into.
There we go.
Didn't like the story, huh, Jerry? We had the one earplug that would go in, and I'd put it under my pillow and sleep lay out like this and listen to the game.
I would do that too. Actually, I would listen to the games. I had a little stereo, so I could just turn it on and listen to it.
Yeah.
I
used to listen to him. My buddy Phil and I both used to do scorekeeping back in the grease pencil days of the bowling alley. And I would actually have a transistor radio, and I would listen to the game as I kept the score.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's one thing I want. I keep saying I want to do it because we go to a few games every year, try to do different stadiums and stuff. And I keep saying I want to have a scorecard and take score of the game while it happens. Just save the cards from the different games that I always.
I used to do that, Jay. It keeps you. It keeps you into the game. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Back in the day, the video wasn't as good. It was a very blasé scoreboard.
Yeah.
They give you a whole lot of information and everything. Now, of course, it's all pyrotechnics.
Oh, yeah.
And,
that's what's
everything else. But
that's what's so great about it now is like you have all the stats. It all comes up. It's all there in real time. Or even that's why I like the Apple TV broadcasts. Like they're showing you ground into double play probability with this pitch or RBI probability, and they do all the little stats based on like predictive, where you at in the count and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun.
Well, the game's scripted. It's like football. It's like the NFL.
You're talking about Jay. You're talking about my dream job when I was a young man.
Mm-hmm.
I said my dream job would be the official scorekeeper of the San Diego Padres. I just like that.
How do you get that job?
Well, one lucky person per team, man. It's just like the announcer,
kind of thing.
I've been saying this since I was a little teenager. Well, probably 18, 19. Anyway, I said the official score should be no ties to the team, and there should be a number of them who travel like the umpires do. They go to different stadiums, so you don't get this. That's that's a base hit because I'm a Padre thing, and there's gonna be crap on me. I mean, because stats matter. Stats are they used to be really important to baseball, but steroids kind of killed that. But stats are, arbitration. Stats are a big deal.
Yeah.
And to me, it cheapens it. I mean, they gave Tatis a hit for the one an RBI with
the Muncy error.
Now, it should have been that way in the first place.
Yeah.
But the official score said no.
Yeah.
Did Jerry freeze again?
No,
he's there.
Okay. God, he didn't blink. I was like, put a mirror on.
I'm mesmerized by your stories, Jeff.
But I would be too, but still, I mean,
let's just real quick while we have this break, let's check in on the game. We're 2 outs, and Darvish is pitching to Walker.
Isn't Walker the guy that hurt the center fielder in the preseason game?
Is it?
Yeah, I think he plays right field, right?
Maybe
he dove for the ball, and he takes out the legs. Who's it? Was it Jordan? Whoever their center fielder is. And the guy's out until May. And when the play happened, you can see it. Walker comes up to help him, and the guy doesn't even talk to him. He just walks away. He was so ticked. Oz is here. So ticked that he did that.
Oz, how's it going?
Anyway, though, to me, the official score should be.
I agree. I don't disagree.
No ties to the team. Every time you come, because you know what's happening. They're calling up there and say, hey, come on.
No, they do. They appeal calls and stuff like that.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that way.
Well, if you listen or watch the papers in the past, sometimes there's the manager went to the scorekeeper after the game and pled his case or whatever it might be. And obviously they're doing it for their team. If it's their pitcher, hey, that should have been an error, or hey, that should have been a hit for my team.
Yeah,
things along that nature.
I know when I
won't disagree with you, Jack. I think it should be an independent, but I always wonder what the scorekeepers do nowadays with all the electronics, the technology and everything. Exactly where the pitch was, what zone it was in, what kind of a pitch it was, miles per hour. And to Jay's point, they could point out, well, when it's 0-2 and it's a curveball in the lower section of the zone, he hits 242.
Yep.
Yeah, just like that. So it's pretty amazing. But
it's cool.
I think stats are.
Your only job is
for baseball are still the most important.
Let Jerry finish his thought. Let Jerry finish his thought.
I just think that stats for baseball are still probably the most guarded thing compared to like an NFL or basketball.
Sure.
I mean, it just everything does matter, and
yeah.
Look how many metrics they've come up with for baseball. WAR, defensive WAR, OPS, I mean, back in the day it was average. I mean, average ERA. But then I think a lot of people got smart about it and said, well, that's not really telling the whole story. We need to talk about power. I remember our good friend Jim, I used to have disagreements with him about what was the value of runs versus RBIs versus home runs versus singles. I mean, and I think that's what makes baseball so interesting to discuss, because there is no right answer. I don't care how many metrics they come up with. It's the old, it depends. Are you at the beginning of the lineup, at the end of the lineup, the middle of the lineup? Where are you hitting? What is your job? So
no, I completely agree. So that's why I love stats. I work in tech. I do a lot of like building dashboards and stuff like that. And I freaking love that stuff.
I love stats and stuff like that, but to me, it still comes down to scoring runs.
Yep.
I know. And speaking of which, we didn't do too much of it yesterday. Hopefully we get more today. Currently 0-0 with Hassan.
But who knew that? Who didn't know that was going to happen when they scored 13
when they
runs
score
a day before,
runs.
and then they always come back and lay an egg.
Well,
hey, look,
he was
I'm
game,
gonna bring this up right now, though, guys.
Yeah.
I looked at the averages this morning.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of guys hitting 250 and above. What were we talking about last year? How many guys in the back of the order, especially, were not even hitting the Mendoza line?
Yeah.
I'm very confident.
One was Carpenter. He had more hits yesterday than he had the whole season last year.
Oh, that bleeder behind the mine was just unbearable.
Oh, you know who just got a hit? The person they think Pham should replace. We've got ourselves Profar just got a double.
I like Profar.
I think Oakland's having some kind of meltdown.
Oh, well, let's save Oakland because I do want to talk about Oakland. But let's talk about that.
Wait. This guy pitching looks like the manager from Major Leagues. You put them side by side.
Yeah.
They're twins.
But let's talk about that. So Bogarts, OPS is kind of low, but he's 286. He's a 641 OPS. Right. Tatis Jr. 286, 976 OPS. Cronenworth 321 average, 875 OPS. Machado 900 OPS, 250 average. Hassan Kim 250, 788. Profar 862 OPS, 300 average. Campusano 346, 884 OPS. Wade 938. Merrill is a little low, but still 238, 780.
Well, that home run was outstanding.
They're hitting well.
And what they're doing is something they didn't do a lot last year.
Yes.
It seems like every hitter is going the opposite way.
Yeah,
I think Kim has at least 3 or 4 hits going the opposite way. He never used to do that. He started last year a little bit, but it's like, and then Merrill's home run was the opposite.
Speaking of that, we got our first run. Campusano just blooped a little single to center field and drove in Profar for the run.
It almost sounds ridiculous, but I'm so optimistic by the first 7 games because I know the pitching is going to be better. I know it will. Darvish has been solid, rock solid. A little concerned about Musgrove, but again, 2 starts, not all that big a deal. Dylan Cease, except for the amount of pitches, pitched well. 2 hits and 2 walks. I mean, pitch count was up a little bit. King, a little disturbing with the walks, but again, that's something that's just a control problem that comes when you have not had an opportunity to pitch. And I'll say the same thing about Waldron. A lot of people are already like, oh my gosh, this is our 5th starter. Well, number 1, it's a 5th starter.
Yeah.
Number 2, he figured it out. The first 2 innings, his knuckleball was flat. And I think he just threw it a little bit too much.
He did. You could see it was rotating too much.
And so, and this is a guy that hasn't gotten a pitch since spring training, probably. You got to give him a couple of starts to get going. But I'm thinking it's kind of the same method that we were looking for last year. If the pitching can just be good, not great, just good. That was great. This team's going to still score a lot of runs,
Well, so I wrote the same thing down about Waldron. When was the last time he had pitched?
It's been a minute,
and he's got his pitch is a specialty pitch. I mean, it's one that not many people
even
try to throw.
It's a field pitch.
You have to get it. You have to feel for it, and you could tell it was just going flat down the middle of the plate. Which, and the thing that hurt was it was always with 2 outs. He's got it buckled. He's got it. I mean, I was talking with Jay on Sunday when we were watching the game. They're up 12-0, and King is walking people. I said, "Can you imagine if Dave Stewart was the pitching coach?"
Yeah.
Let's not say it. I want to get you banned from YouTube.
I don't want to say it, but I'm just saying he would not put up with throw strikes. You're up 12-0, but I know he's having problems. But with Waldron, I think it was a lot to do with the fact that it's like you said, you have to feel it's not a pitch. It's anybody on the team can go, yeah, this is what you're doing wrong because they've never thrown it.
Yeah, the critique I heard from the radio today from guys who probably know better because they actually track the pitches was that he was throwing the knuckler with 2 strikes almost every time, and they were sitting on it.
Yep,
They were sitting on it. So, even an ineffective knuckleball, if thrown after a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, is going to be effective.
Yeah.
But if you go back and look,
Mm-hmm.
I bet you that half of those guys got a hit on the flat knuckleball with 2 strikes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, but that was the first time around the batting order. I mean, you think about it from the 3rd, 4th, and he only pitched to 1 batter in the 5th because he was up to 90 pitches. He was pretty effective. I mean, he struck out what, 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so
after those first couple innings, he was solid.
I give him a pass because he just hadn't pitched in a couple of weeks, and that's just,
but when did Padre fans? I mean, I'm going back to the old timers. I can remember like a guy like Dave Freisleben. Okay, let's just give him. He just needs some work.
Yeah,
you'd let him go all season because but this guy, he goes 4 innings. What is he even doing in the major leagues?
Padres Twitter is very aggressive because it was like
Cosgrove
like
up 6
Brito's our 5th starter now and all this kind of stuff. And then Brito came in and gave him a couple
fans
runs.
are known for their overreactions in the first 1 or 2 weeks of the season. It's like,
I know, but
this is not a microcosm of the whole year.
I mean, I know we didn't have social networking back then, but I can remember guys like Bob Ochinko and like I said, Freisleben, and you could go on and on and on with all these Padre pitchers. You go, oh no, this guy's got good stuff. Let's just wait. They don't wait anymore. Was that Merrill?
Merrill got himself a nice single through, I think.
And the run didn't score?
Well, he was on first base. Wade was on first.
I thought he was on second.
He grounded into a fielder's choice.
This
Campusano
guy
did a good job breaking up the double play.
I don't know if you guys knew it. I did not, but Mikolas used to be in our farm system.
He did?
He pitched, I think he pitched for the Padres, 1 year.
Did he?
Yeah, I did not remember that. I heard that on the radio, listening to a sports show, and I was like, oh, I did not realize that.
I remember hearing it during the playoffs when they played the I think it was back then. I've known for a while.
Oh, yeah, the 2020 playoffs?
Yeah, I've known for a long time. I said, wait, we had him? Because the Padres trade so many guys, it's hard to keep track. And in fact, they brought somebody back who they traded for that stupid trade last year, where they got the first baseman and the guy who was a pitcher.
Garrett Cooper. You mean Garrett Cooper?
No. The Korean first baseman.
Oh,
I don't think he's playing anymore.
Doggone it.
Choi.
Choi.
Yeah.
Choi.
Jimon Choi.
Who was a pitcher who was like 100 years old? Left-hander.
Hill. We got that player back.
Rich Hill.
Yeah, we got the player back because they were DFA-ing him, and we said, we'll trade for him. So we got Wolf. Wolf, I think is his name.
Yes, Jackson Wolf.
You're bringing back bad memories, because when we got to the trade deadline and we traded for Rich Hill, I didn't care how well he was pitching. I'm like, we are desperate.
Yes,
we are desperate. It reminded me. It reminded me of a couple of years ago when we picked up Arrieta.
Yes,
and the same thing, because we literally didn't have any arms, and we picked up guys like Jake Arrieta.
Those Rich Hill games that he got blown out. If we would have won those games again, we would have made the playoffs.
Yeah,
and I was like, I remember saying, is there not anybody in the minors that can pitch better than this guy?
Yeah.
Why don't we have anybody in the minors?
Yeah.
Because that was a bad trade. I mean, I don't even know how it works out.
Well, unfortunately, there was a little bit of both, though, Jack. If you remember, we had Ryan Weathers to come in. I think he had a frequent flyers between AAA and the Padres.
Well, he's the Marlins' third starter right now, I think.
That's a guy the Padres screwed up.
Yes, they did.
They screwed him up. They just totally messed up his confidence.
They really did.
Well, they tried to bridge success down the stretch of the playoff year.
Yeah,
and just thinking, I think, oh, he's there, and I don't think it was fair to him.
No,
wrong.
No.
I was yelling at the TV when he was blowing up too, but I don't think it was fair to him, because you can't.
He's young.
Just because a guy comes up and has 4 or 5 great starts going down, and he had, if I remember right, he had a good playoff series.
Yeah.
Even. But just to throw him and just say, okay, now you're there.
And then when he's clearly not being successful, you keep him up there.
Yeah.
Now, you heard that season he hurt his knee, and he was out for a while, and he came back and was never the same. So obviously something was bothering him, but they were so desperate for pitching that they had to keep him. And I'm like going, the kid's 21. You got to send him back down. What are we doing?
I think there's even more than that, Jack. I look back and again, this is always a problem with any pitching staff. You need to have a couple of guys that go 7 innings. And the biggest struggle the Padres have had the last 2 years is getting enough innings out of everybody, because I think what harmed Weathers more than anything is, well, somebody's got to take the bullet, and we've been using our bullpen, so you know what, and that just demoralizes a 21 or 22-year-old kid. It's like, take one for the team. Well, I get it, but when you're new to the league and had a little success, and now you're giving up 8 runs in 2 innings because, hey, we need you to bear down and take the hit.
Well, you need to do that with a Rich Hill. His career is over. So you let him, not the 21-year-old.
Well, that's what they did last year, but it also bit us. So okay, Giant series. We split the series. We beat up their, I don't know, person to fill in for Blake Snell for 12 runs and 3 innings. We had that great comeback win for the opening day, and we lost the middle 2 in classic Padres frustrating fashion. What was your thoughts on the Giant series, splitting the series with the Giants? And what it portends to our early start to the season. Jerry, what's your thoughts from the Giant series?
I go back to our opening segment. I'll take 500 against every team in our division except for the Rockies. I truly mean that. This is as tough of a division I've seen the Padres in forever. It's usually loaded with maybe 1, maybe 2, extremely rare cases, even 3. But come on, I mean, that's a good team, and so I was happy that we scored the runs that we did. Again, I'm looking more consistency for the offense. I'm an April offense guy, and pitching starts in May. I think you can't depend on your star pitchers even for 5 or 6 innings, or you look at the Phillies. What happened to Nola? Nola just got creamed. And that's a darn good pitcher. Max Fried didn't get out of the first inning. So pitchers usually used to be pitchers had an advantage. I don't think that's true anymore. I think the hitters are conditioning during the offseason. They're ready to go.
Do you think pitchers, because they have a pitch count, and there's probably a pitch count in the minors, that they're not working enough? Not in the minors, the spring training.
Well,
I mean, I don't know.
You know the answer to that, Jack. I mean, and some people say, "Oh, you guys are old school and everything." But gee, I mean, Christmas, do it really 90 pitches and like, oh no, might hurt his arm.
But pitchers are still getting hurt.
Well, that's just the thing. I think the thing is nowadays is there's been too much emphasis on the pitch count, and I think pitching a lot doesn't hurt you. This all kind of stems back from the A's when they had the 4-man rotation, and I forget the particulars about it, but these guys were throwing like 150 pitches a game. The manager at that time had a 4-man rotation and 4 young studs.
It was Martin.
And it just pitched the crap out of them. And they had nothing in the gas tank after a couple of years.
Was it Norris, Keogh? I can't remember all the pitchers. But it was Billy Martin. He he ran them into the ground. I mean, they won, but when you look at Randy Jones, he had 25 complete games in one season. I mean,
well, and it's not the same game now. So here's where I'll turn the tables to the owners and the general managers. They're shelling out 5-year contracts for $150 million. I guarantee you they're having discussions with the manager saying, "I need to keep this guy healthy, man. We're paying him
for
a lot
5 years,
of money." If you just blow this guy's arm out, I'm going to be a little ticked, and your luggage will meet you at the dugout. So I think there's a lot of conversations about that. I just don't think that
Cardinals tie the game back up on a sacrifice fly.
I just don't think they're letting them go long enough. But I think a lot of it has to do with the way the game's going. I've seen some managers are a little bit freer with it. It's the 7th inning and he's pitched a great game and it's 1-0 and they'll let him go. But I will agree, if it's already 5-0, and the guy's out there with 90 pitches, well then why? You're already losing 4-0. Then
Yeah.
why bother extending him in that particular situation? So I'll be interested to see how Schilt manages this team because
Mm-hmm.
Melvin was pretty. I think he was a pretty good pitching manager
Mm-hmm.
as far as letting them go every once in a while. Because
Mm-hmm.
there
Yeah,
were some games last year where he was letting the guys go 100, 105.
I did respect him for that. I
Yeah,
said,
Yeah.
yeah.
because the problem with like Tingler, he was pulling people at 5 innings, and then
No matter what.
yeah,
70 pitches.
yeah,
Pull them.
And the bullpen was done.
the bullpen was
Second
done
half.
by the end of the season.
They were just, there was nothing left. It's that fine line where you have to go, okay, you have to make sure you're strong for the end of the season too.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think it brings out the importance of Musgrove and Cease in this because Darvish, to me, 37 years old, I don't expect him to throw complete games. I know he's your ace. I don't expect him to throw complete games. But what I will want to expect is the younger guns, the Musgroves and the Cease, they got to be the 7-inning guys.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if at some point in the season where they don't separate those two to give the bullpen, even though I think that that's the proper order, I would be tempted to put King into the 3 slot so that you have Musgrove, King, and then Cease, and hopefully those guys carry some more innings with them. Darvish very rarely gets blown out, so you're pretty sure you're gonna get 5 or 6 out of him, and give your bullpen a little bit more of a 3-5 setup than what it is right now with 4-5, because now you're putting the onus on Darvish to put a lot of innings on the board.
Yeah.
Well, I know when Musgrove was pitching the no-hitter against the Rangers, the announcers started talking about the pitch count. I go, and who was it? Was it was Green was the manager, right?
No, Tingler. It was Tingler.
Tingler, and I'm like going, I swear to God, if he takes him out, I'm gonna riot. I'm gonna lose it. I'm flying down to Texas because it's like, come on, he's a big boy. Let him pitch less the next game. But I said, but that was the talk around the 7th inning. I'm like going, first, none of us wanted to talk about no hitter anyway. We didn't want to jinx it. But I'm like going, gee, what are we doing here? Anyway, I'm okay now.
All right.
No, it's but luckily that wasn't the case, and we got the no hitter, which was
but was it last year? Blake Snell had a no hitter.
Yeah,
they took him out. I think he had 100 and something.
But that
pitches.
one, that one makes sense because you still want him healthy. He pitches so many pitches. Padres already have their no hitter.
Well, he had a couple innings to go too. To me, it's the difference between
so did Musgrove. They started talking about like the 7th inning. I'm like going, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. Well, luckily it was.
Luckily, we don't have Preston Gomez anymore, so nobody.
The curse of the kid.
Speaking of No Joe, he was a bit of So Joe on. Hold on.
A little concerned. I have to say, again, it's early, but his last spring training start and his debacle in Seoul, and now this, he doesn't look like he's got command.
Yeah,
it's location's the problem. That you still see the good snap on the curve or the sweep or whatever it is, but his fastball, man, I mean, it was like putting it on the tee last game. He just everything was right down the middle.
And he obviously he knows it because you can see by his reaction. He turns around and it's like,
well, his ears were shiny, so.
Well, I thought if his ears are shiny, he's got what he needs.
Well, the worst part was when Buck Showalter ran onto the field and grabbed a Q-tip around his ears. I was like, all right, Buck, you're not even managing anymore. Time to leave, Buck.
Oh my God.
Well, what did you think, Jay? I mean, did you see any encouraging signs or anything that really? No, for the split of the series.
To me, I think I even said it on the last episode. I'd be good with a split. 3-1 would be great. I loved all the boos Bob Melvin got. I'm generally not a boo guy, but it's just Bob Melvin's post Giants becoming a Giant manager interviews. This is
Bob Melvin happy. This is Bob Melvin sad.
And he was on Sunday. He was writing something down. I go, I never saw that guy write anything down. He was a Padre manager ever.
What I did like though, the class of the organization, and they showed it on the board and thanking Snellzilla.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I was actually a little bit surprised in some ways that they did not introduce the Giants on opening day
They
because I
did.
thought,
They did.
or
They did. It may have been earlier in the game, but I watched the pre-game
no,
whatever,
but
and they
the
did the Giants.
reserves because they never went to Blake Snell. They
Oh,
just
I
did the
guess, yeah, they
starters.
didn't do
Yeah,
reserves. They only had
and
the
I thought
starters.
it would have been but
Yeah.
anyway, a good class act. You know, I
Mhm.
mean, it's always hard to see one of your
He
guys
wanted
going
and
to
he
another
wanted to
team.
stay.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that.
Well,
That's what he says.
but they say that, but they have
Uh,
Scott Boras, and I've seen both those articles with both Blake Snell and the Union Tribune, and then Juan Soto and that ESPN. I think it was Alden Gonzalez, where it's like, well, Peter said he really wanted me to stay. And it was like, well, then you should have signed an extension if you wanted to stay. But
why don't you sign? Why don't you sign? You were never going to sign an extension.
yeah,
Even,
exactly.
even
So
though Boros and
Boris.
Seidler were friends, Boris and Seidler were friends.
Yeah. But
hey, it's
it's
business. It's business,
yeah.
guys. I mean, when I understand why the Padres put the qualifying offer out there. It was a reasonable offer, but you knew it wasn't. Come on, that's not going
Yeah.
to get it back, right? I think
No.
it was 17 million or something like that.
I think it was 20 million, but still, yeah, it wasn't
still
great.
not enough.
He made 19 last year, right?
Yeah, but still not enough because obviously coming out of a second Cy Young year, they said not enough. He was no Clevenger, turning down a $12 million deal so that he
Make
could
10
sign for
million.
$3 million with the same
Well,
team.
I'm glad he
But
left.
yeah, but I didn't realistically see it happening as much as I love the interviews with the
Oh
between
yeah,
inning
same. Yeah, the in
interviews.
game. Yeah.
Seemed like a team guy.
Yeah.
Really loved, still do. We talked about it though. The only thing I hate is that he went to the Giants. Why couldn't you go to like Pittsburgh or the
Yeah.
American League or something?
Well, I mean, I don't think he wanted to go East Coast because
he wanted
he's a Seattle guy. He wanted to go to Seattle, and I think
which we talked about last week. I'm still shocked they didn't take him.
Seattle's just not. Seattle's
trying.
cheap.
Yeah,
Seattle's cheap. They don't like
trying.
paying for people. Yeah.
Which that's where I thought because doesn't Nintendo own them or to some? I thought they would have been in on Ohtani at least to try and do something, but they didn't. Jake Cronenworth gets himself a nice single again. Jake Cronenworth. Let's talk about good things going on right now. How about Jake the Rake Cronenworth? His swing is so good. Look at that hitting
opposite field.
Look at that.
I was talking to somebody the other day about Jake Cronenworth and what I thought about him last year, and I ended up being wrong. I honestly, truly thought he was going to lead the Padres in RBIs because of where he was slotted.
Well, he had 88 the year before.
Yeah, and talking to them about the lineup this year and why it is what it is, and I said, while I may disagree with some other pieces of the lineup, I love where they put Jake because I think the pressure on him was, Jack talked about it before, becoming a first baseman and having that mentality like, oh, now I got to hit power numbers, right? But second, being after Tatis and before Machado, you think he ain't going to get some pitches and opportunities?
Yeah.
And the only lefty in the first five. Lefty, yeah. So now you're never going to see probably a lefty reliever come in because with the rule they got to pitch to 3 batters. Nobody's going to put a lefty in to pitch to Machado or to Tatis and then Machado.
Yeah.
So I think he's in for a banner year this year.
Yeah. And again, looking at with that single now, he's at 345, 911. Again, average in OPS.
Last year he not only was he overswing, he had that uppercut.
Yeah.
He was trying to get
just trying to jack it to right field.
I'm like going, again, watch Keith Hernandez, watch Rod Carew at first base, even though Carew played second base too. So anyway, you have hitters at first base that weren't power hitters.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people right away because people, like I said, when Padre Twitter, when they said, "Oh, he's batting third," what? Why's he even on the team?
You know what? Your dad's favorite team, Jack. I still remember that they had Vince Coleman, Ozzie Smith, Jack Clark hitting cleanup, and guess who hit third on that team? Tommy Herr.
Tommy Herr.
did not hit 10 home runs and had over 100 RBIs hitting in the 3-hole.
Yeah.
Well, they also had Keith Hernandez, Terry Pendleton. The only power hitter
Well,
they had
I'm
was
talking
Jack
about
Clark.
that one year when Jack Clark was there, and
Yeah.
that was the formula. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, Vince Coleman stealing 80 to 100 bases.
Ozzie Smith.
Ozzie Smith obviously found his offense after he left San Diego because he was like a lifetime 230 hitter for us, and then went over there and
Well,
started.
he started
He
out-
still wasn't a great hitter, right? He just became more serviceable.
He was a slap hitter. You know,
Yeah.
is the famous bet he had with Herzog. White Herzog bet him in, some dollar bet or whatever. For every ground ball you hit, you get $1. Every ball you
Yeah.
hit in the air, I get $1. And Herzog was a smart manager. He just said, "Look, we're playing on AstroTurf. Beat the
Mhm.
thing into the ground for all I care. You're going to beat it out. We need you on base."
The
Yeah.
Padres told him the same thing, but he didn't want to listen.
No, because it wasn't Herzog. It was
Yeah.
Jerry
Yeah.
Coleman and
Yeah.
whoever else we had managing at that time.
I don't know if it was his second season where he started out 0 for 32.
Yeah.
I can't remember what year it was, but he started out 0 for 32. It's hard to recover when you're not a great hitter. When you
Yeah.
start out 0 for 32. But I mean, his
Mhm.
defense though was just amazing, and he
Yeah.
did steal bases. I mean, it was like Mark Belanger? He was
Mark Belanger, Baltimore Orioles, yeah.
and finished up with the Dodgers. He was just no hit, but glove. He had glove. And the shortstops used to be, it wasn't until Cal Ripken came along and A-Rod and all these different guys who started hitting power. Shortstops used to be just play defense, steal some bases, get up and hit 200, and you'll be fine.
Well, that was the Baltimore Orioles of the late '60s, early '70s with Earl Weaver. The defense was the middle, so we had Etchebarren at catcher. He had Davy Johnson at second base, Belanger at short, and he had Paul Blair up the middle. Those guys could all play defense like nobody's business. But man, he had the Boot Powell over here, and he had Frank Robinson over here, and Brooks Robinson. I mean, his big belief was, my defense is up the middle. It has to be sound. And you're right. I mean, now don't get me wrong. There's great shortstops now that fill both of the voids.
Yeah.
They're great defensively and offensively.
Yeah.
But nobody heard of a 6'4", 240-pound shortstop before.
No.
Yeah.
Like the Reds.
I do want to plus in the chat here real quick. Oz, what's your thoughts here? I don't get why people don't like Wade. Yeah, he's no Manny, but so far he looks decent.
I love
Wade.
I love him.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
good. Maybe he's not a starter, everyday starter.
No,
but he's great to have. That's a good player to have on the team.
Yeah.
Hey, right now the platoon of Paulie and Wade's doing good. Did Hassan Kim just do something good?
It was a great play at shortstop.
Okay. Hey, way to keep us going there, Oz. Yeah, we love your input there.
By the way, I was thinking home run, but I figured he has good defense too.
It was a great. He robbed Nolan Arenado of an infield hit.
The bottom line is, we've said it before, you can't have all-stars at every position. It just doesn't happen. And
even the Dodgers, with all their money, don't have all-stars.
Exactly. So you have to have serviceable parts. And that usually means a platoon somewhere. That means maybe playing a young guy and out of position or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think, again, I said it the time we talked, I like where we're going now. I am just pleading with Preller to let it ride out for a while. Let's really find out whether Merrill, Paulie, Wade, even Michael King and Waldron, let them play for a while. Let's not make any decisions until a couple months go by at least. The last thing I want to see is another bailout at the trading deadline or going out and mortgaging the future once again for one playoff run. It's got to make sense.
Yeah, I agree. They have to keep. I don't think they will this year because they don't have the money.
Mm-hmm. They're trying to reset luxury tax, and
I think they still got about 10 or 12 million left.
And they've said that they want to keep some money aside for any mid-season trades.
And I'm not saying no trade. I'm just saying let's not mortgage the future.
Yeah, we don't need to do a Soto trade again, right? Because I think I'd much rather have James Woods right now than. But actually, we got good pitchers in returns. I don't know. We still time will tell.
Yeah, I can't knock that deal. I can't. Even in retrospect, I can't knock that deal. Did it hurt to lose Abrams? At the time, I thought, maybe an okay starter. Mackenzie Gore had his run with us.
Yeah.
The one that hurt was Woods.
Yeah.
But even then, it was like, but he's still single A.
Yeah, he's not up in the majors yet.
Exactly. So
I mean, I'm not wishing him any harm.
Yeah.
It will.
It will. But I think he'll. But it's like at this point, why are we bitching about it? Because he hasn't done anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
At some point, I mean, like I said, you could have put Abrams in center field because I don't think he's a good shortstop. I think he's an
I actually wondered about his hitting. I'll be honest with
you.
And
his hitting still isn't great.
Well, he's got more pop than I thought he was going to have. Stolen bases are not a surprise.
Yeah.
But again, it's not like the Padres never played him. And I'm not saying they gave him a couple of years, but they let him play for quite a while there, and sometimes you got to make a call.
Yep.
When you're a team that hasn't made the playoffs consistently, but 6-7 times up to that point, and you have a chance to get a guy like Juan Soto, you have to make that trade. You have to make. I mean, if Fernando doesn't break his arm and get busted for PEDs, we might win the World Series that year.
Yeah.
In typical San Diego fashion, something happens because.
We still made a great run. Like, it was special. It was special.
Well, I guess that's what I'm saying is that you can't damn the deal just because of the results. Yeah. Raise your hand if you didn't love that deal when you saw Soto coming over.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
And Soto had some clutch hits in the playoffs. Like, again,
and I'll say the same thing. I'll say the same thing about the Cease deal. We're giving up this. You got to give something up. Yeah. I mean, it's smart that Steve Wilson was part of that. And I actually felt for Steve Wilson because now he's got to go over to the Chi Sox and suffer.
Worst team in the league.
Just absolutely suffer over there. And
plus he didn't get to go to Korea.
Yeah, but I mean the big deal to me is you got a better deal this time.
Let's just take a moment to enjoy this Campusano hit. Like this guy is now batting 393,000 OPS, but look at his hit. He just takes it opposite.
Now he's a hitter. He's a hitter. He definitely does not have the pull factor that we all fear from young players. And then go back to Oz's comment about Wade, Paulie, Merrill. I have not seen these guys be pull happy. Yes. They look like they're trying to put the ball in play. And Merrill's
Wade just speak of the devil.
No, did he?
That should bring in a run.
Okay. Yeah, it did. But I just like the way these guys, their approach. And, you were naming off the averages earlier. I tell you what, Merrill, I don't care what his average is. If you watch his at-bats, he's got really good at-bats. It may not always come out, but he's got really good at-bats. They were interviewing his mom and dad.
That's a bad pitch, and he took advantage of it.
That one game. And they were saying, they were asking where did his
where his dad taught him just how to foul off.
Just how to foul off pitches. Yeah. And I'm thinking, man, what a smart dad. Just like understanding, like, hey, if you want to go to the next level, you're not always going to be getting a fastball right down the middle. You got to figure out how to,
I thought he was going to get another hit. Merrill just but again, good swing. Went
well, he got robbed last night by Walker.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, that was it was a great play. Did you see him looking out there like smiling, like you got me. You got me. Yeah.
Did you see when they were interviewing his parents, they showed him practicing in Little League?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mark Grant said something like 10 years ago. I go, 10 years ago? I go, he's only 20. I go, that was when he was 12. That's 8 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
I go, this is crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can watch a home video of somebody in Little League, and here it is, 8 years later, and
it was in 2013.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Jerry. We keep saying this every week. Got to stick with these young guys. And I was trying to figure out when I was watching the game Sunday, I go, all right, how many of these guys on the team are homegrown? This could be like a record for the Padres.
Very much so. Very much so. It's just been a deplorable farm system for one that's always ranked so high.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just guys that don't pan out, and every farm system has that.
Yes.
Where
the guy for whatever reason.
Here's the next coming of, Tony Gwynn. Well, he's a part-time player now. Yeah.
No, it's true. And that's where I haven't minded, because And I think Preller's even said this is like, sure, you can have good players, but teams need great players. And so you have to balance that of having a certain amount of great players. I think it's something I do, and I hope is true of this season is it seems like we have our great players, but we're pairing them with good players, where last season it felt like we had great players and
if
Rude Ned Odor.
We say this every year. If you can have young guys come up and be successful, it energizes the team.
Yeah,
because you can see like when Merrill hit that home run, you knew they were going to give him the silent treatment. And he's like, and then they all jump at it. That's class. It's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and again, it's the go back to the love of baseball. That's what I love about. There is no one way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be interested to watch the Cincinnati Reds. Perfect example. You got to talk about. I don't see any superstars in that lineup. Like, there's not a name, I know.
Ellie De La Cruz.
But only because of his flashiness. But as far as actual statistics, bombers, whatever, I don't see that guy in there. Well, it'll be interesting to find out how well that pans out.
Mm-hmm.
Having more of an 8 or 9 guy lineup versus stud, hope.
Yes.
And
100%.
I know that what has hurt the Padres in the past has only been, you had a couple of times. You had 98, you had 96. Even the 84 team, you could argue was more of just a kind of even across, and they had, Garvey towards the end of his career. And but you look at that 96, 98 team, that was to me the stud teams of all time. And that was more superstar.
Mike
and
Nicholas,
then some really good players. What was it? Who was the Chris Gomez is the shortstop?
Oh, I loved Chris Gomez.
I know, but on any other team, it's like,
what we were talking about, an average fielder, average hitter,
right?
But you had various at second. You had Joyner.
I love Kilvio Veras.
Yeah, Kilvio Veras. I mean, but the point being though is what you did have is Gwynn, Finley, Caminetti, Greg Vaughn.
Yep.
Studs. Absolute studs. Proven.
Ricky knows how to play. Ricky knows how to run.
Yeah. You had Ricky a few years, and then you had the Kevin Brown trade that made him whole.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's more
and we gave up a good player for that too.
Yeah, and I think this is more like the 89 team, because you've got the 3 or 4 proven studs, and you're hoping that the other guys can contribute, like the Gomez, the Veras, and even Carlos Hernandez, a catcher.
Yeah.
Not superstars, but solid players that didn't hurt you at the bottom of the lineup when you're trying to, make comebacks. And it's like, oh, great, Tatis and Cronenworth and Machado get on, and they die. They die on
the only problem with Carlos Hernandez, and I loved Carlos Hernandez, but he was the classic 6-4-3, bases loaded.
Yeah.
And you're going to go, okay, and you get like 3-0.
Never liked to walk either.
No, like I said,
two guys before him could walk, and he'd swing at the first pitch.
You get a 3-0 pitch, and then they go, God, just walk once in a while.
Still my favorite team, 98 team. Still my favorite.
Oh yeah, 98 team was.
Yeah. I'll go with 84, just because it was.
I wasn't alive in 84, so I can't speak to that. But 98 was fun.
84 had more of the magic to it. 98 team was just a solid, really great team. I've got the 84 banner in my office.
Yeah.
And you still look at that. I know Jack would know and everything, but the common baseball fan would look at that banner.
Yeah. And who?
Say, who?
Yeah.
Who? I mean, even the guys
who I have an 84 team.
Some of the guys who were the perceived stars on that team, like McReynolds and Carlos Martinez, and it's like, really, like this was your team, it's definitely two different times. Yeah.
You Darvish just forgot how many strikes he had against a player. He's got a strike, and then started walking off, and they had to tell him he had to come back. And
it looks like he's pitching good though, so
it happens.
He's getting older now.
Remember,
he forgets.
Remember the 84 team, we lost McReynolds for the World Series. And you had Bobby Brown playing center field instead of McReynolds. I
do want to question Oz has a chat here relating to this conversation right now. I feel like homegrown players also know their teammates' strengths and weaknesses, and they work together to win.
That's true. That's a good point.
camaraderie is always important, but I'll steal Jack's thing. It still comes to scoring runs and preventing runs. I know that there's something to be said about the pick me up. It's good to have a clubhouse where somebody goes over to somebody that's struggling and says, "Hey, man, it'll be your turn soon." That's very important. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, you don't walk over someone and go, "You suck."
Yeah, but when it comes to like batting and in pitching, it's like, you know what? Yeah, I can tell you all I want. It's like your kids. I can tell you all I want, but it's ultimately up to you. You're going to have to do what you got to do. But hey, the last couple of years have been fun watching because it seems like they do have, for the most part, a good clubhouse.
Yeah.
I think Schiltz really added to that because I'm not going to say it was bad last year. I think there was more friction between Preller and then Melvin than there was maybe in the clubhouse. And yeah, there's some rumors about Soto and all that kind of stuff, but I don't think that was a deterrent. I just think he was kind of in his own world, and the other guys kind of worked around it.
Yeah.
When he hit home runs, they were out there doing the fist bumps and everything.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think there was a like, oh, just go sit in the corner.
Well,
but
I
think you're someone like Manny and you're playing hurt. And then you have Josh Hader not willing to come. I'm sorry. If I'm in that same situation, I'm going to be ticked.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like,
well, but I also feel like they know. And again, I don't disagree. But there's also like they're professionals and they want to make money. And Hader's like, well, I don't want to get hurt because I got to get my payday.
You want to make
my
money.
One chance.
I want to make money, but if I'm trying to make the playoffs to make more money,
well, I think it hurt him, right? He wanted $100 million deal and he didn't get it.
And the ultimate goal, I don't care who you are.
Also, Soto blew a Hader save opportunity for the Astros, which was fun to watch.
But I'm saying most baseball players, most athletes. I mean, there's some that don't give a F. Yeah. But most of them want to get that. They want to get that ring.
No,
they
absolutely.
want to say they're world champions. You have again. You go in any sport. You can look at all these great players. I think we talked about this before that never won a ring, and you're like going, that has to. I don't care who you are. That has to eat at you. You're a Hall of Famer, but you never won a ring.
Yeah, I know. It sounds wrong, but Ohtani apparently took lesser money. Granted, $700 million. But he took lesser money because he wants a ring. He played with the Angels. He gave it their all. He's got Mike Trout on the team, kind of to prove our point. They had two awesome players and whatever. Yeah. And it just didn't pan out.
Well, hey, they paid Rendon $280 million.
Yeah, call it stacking the deck or whatever. But the bottom line is he could have got more. He could have got more for the Yankees. He could have. I've heard they offered him more. And he just basically said, I want to play for a winner, a proven winner.
The dude's making $100 million in endorsements, though. Yeah. It's not like he goes, all right, I'll defer all that money and I'll just take $1 million this year.
Yeah. And of course, the converse of that was Tony Gwynn taking the San Diego discount because he just wanted to see San Diego win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And fans got totally different ways.
Fans got upset with that.
Yeah. And he got ridiculed for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, players did not
crazy. Like it. Yeah. I did want to talk about Oakland real quick.
Yeah, let's close on the Oakland. Esteury Rui, former Padre prospect.
I would trade for him in a second.
Well, okay. What do you think about the rumors? Because him and another Padres trade, Rooker, were wearing wristbands from the pub that have done the sell the team stuff, and that Rooker was benched and Ruiz was sent down.
And one guy was cut, and another guy was cut.
Yeah. So thoughts on Fisher's pretty petty. Do you think that is why that whole situation went down?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The guy's just a nut job, and now Oakland's put a 5-year deal or 4-year deal for them to lease for them to lease it until Las Vegas, which I don't know why they're even bothering because it's not going to change anybody's mind. They're still going to do it.
Yeah.
And part of me would say, you know what, good luck and don't let the door hit you in the ass.
Like the Chargers when they left, I was like, you're fine. You don't want to be here. Go.
Yeah, just get out of here. We're it's a sad situation. Grew up a San Diego Charger fan.
Yeah.
In general, don't like anything Oakland. just because of the rivalry
Raiders,
and everything.
yeah.
But I feel for those fans.
Yeah,
I do. I feel for those fans.
absolutely.
And I know a lot of people felt for us for many years being in San Diego going, man, why can't you guys get a decent owner? Why can't you
Right?
get,
Yeah,
a
why
great
do
city
we
to
always
play
get
in?
crappy owners?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, out of all of the post Seedler death things, I think the one that hurt the most was when they were talking about with the whole A's deal, where there was an unnamed owner that was getting owners together to block the approval of the sale. And so the assumption is that was Seedler trying to get a group of people together to block the sale. Once he died, there was that movement stopped and they approved the deal.
Well,
Hey, the owners got what they bought. I mean, the bottom line is you have a governing board, you have votes.
Yeah.
You let this guy in, and unfortunately, we've seen it in sports way too often.
Yeah.
Whether it's football, baseball, basketball, they've all done it.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the greed of the money.
Yep.
It's all about where can I get a stadium built for free?
Yeah.
Probably don't have time this one. If you remind me, I read an interesting article a couple years ago about the economics of it. But in short, the Petco Park is the only stadium that's been built by a city that hasn't lost tons of money, and it's only break even. It's the best.
I thought in football, Arizona, the Cardinals, their stadium is broke even or making some money. That could be wrong.
It may be it's a couple years ago I read it, and I was truly astounded because it was done by an economics guy who knew his stuff. He did all the digging and basically found out that the cities were just losing money right and left with these deals.
They always say
they never paying out as much.
Yeah,
they always say if the deals are so great and you're going to make so much money, why don't the owners do it?
Yeah,
well, exactly. Like that's where
at least you had the what's his name was SoFi. Drawing like the Rams owner,
Kroenke.
But that thing was only supposed to cost $2 billion, ended up costing $5 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now his team is worth a lot more because he owns his stadium.
Yeah,
but there's no way he's making money on it.
Right.
There's just no way.
Not yet, because all we have to do is look at Peter Angelos. I believe bought the Orioles in 1980s or whatever it was, and he bought them for I think it was 169 million, and now they're worth like $2 billion.
Yeah,
so it's no different than buying your house. It's just a larger scale.
But if you look
you buy your house for $100,000, and 10 years later you can sell it for $300,000.
But if but he probably had to finance all that. He didn't pay cash for the stadium. That's what I'm saying. But you don't need a cathedral.
Yeah.
To if you look at because people always go look at the Chargers, how much they've gone up since they moved. I go, okay, look at the Jaguars. They've gone up the same amount, and they didn't build a new stadium. They didn't pay $1 billion going to $1 billion in debt to move.
Yeah,
I mean, so it's like you just need a place. Fans just want to go to a stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Where
so there's the problem though, Jack. You're talking about the common fan that the owners could care less about.
Yeah, they don't care.
They do all these overtures and all that kind of stuff. Well, they care about the suites. How many suites can I put? A million a piece.
Yeah,
it's guaranteed revenue because companies come in and buy $1 million suite. That's what they care about.
Yeah,
so the common fan is like, oh yeah, we love all of our, and even Padre fans, we love them all and everything. Well, as long as you're coming to the games, we love you.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing is the owners don't live by ticket revenues nearly as much as they did back in the day.
Yeah,
no,
their TV revenue is the most important thing to them.
Yeah.
I remember when George Steinbrenner
the appreciation
was
of the franchise, appreciation.
But I remember when George Steinbrenner, when back in the day in the '80s, when he was signing the Dave Winfields and all that, he's like, I get $300 million a year from the Yes Network.
Yeah,
like everything else is gravy.
Mm-hmm.
That, and his payroll at that time was an astounding, $30 million or whatever.
Yeah.
But
baseball's gonna fold.
Yeah. It's.
Well, I do hear Dodger fans. I do hear Dodger
anymore.
fans complaining about how expensive the tickets are.
But they go.
Well,
their home opener, they didn't sell out. Like they had big swaths.
There's a lot of empty seats there.
I mean, empty.
I mean, they could blame the weather or something like they usually do. But
well,
I know it's
I know we like to
sold.
pick on the Dodgers, but the Padres ain't much different, bud. I mean, look, I'm a homer. I love my Padres.
No,
I
the
think
tickets
Petco,
are
but they're
outrageous.
ridiculous now. I can't even imagine a family of 4 going out for a game
Oh, it's
anymore.
insane. It's insane.
It's just like drop of the dime, $400.
Remember how earlier
easy.
in this episode we were talking about how we went for $1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
But
it's
I would
it's
go-
a
I would-
luxury experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would go.
Hey,
I would go.
before we close,
Wait,
Yes,
I want to
before we
talk
close,
before we finish up with
Okay.
the A's. I would go after Ruiz because he's got speed. He's good defensively. Could you imagine Merrill, Tatis, and Ruiz in the outfield?
yeah, that's true.
And you can.
That's true.
I'm a big fan of speed because remember, Jerry, you texted me the other day about who someone stole the base, and it was it Wade that stole the base,
Yeah, well,
The
I think
rain.
Wade and Kim stole a base in the same game. Yeah.
and they ended up getting a run.
Yep.
Oz says, cost my sister's family of $395.
That's just insane.
It's just insane.
I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah. Not for an everyday thing. That's
No.
for sure.
No.
Hey, but I did want to interject, and I know we're not in a Padre official stadium or an event here, but
yeah.
hey, rest in peace, Larry Lucchino.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know that the stadium that he built is a gym. You know, and he did a lot for the Padres, and quite honestly, he did a lot for baseball. He did a lot for cancer.
Yeah.
Never met the gentleman. Don't pretend to know him or anything. But from all things, he sounds a lot like Peter Seidler. Like he just he knew his roots. He knew how humble he was very humble. I'm glad that the Padres had a chance to honor him. Because
Yes.
lesser organization could have just ignored him and just said, you're with another organization now.
Yep.
But yeah, seemed like a great man. But that aside, what he did for the Padres and building this beautiful stadium we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
also Camden
his
Yards.
legacy of it though, right?
Yeah.
Because he did
Yeah.
the Orioles and he did the Fenway Park
renovation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I've been to Camden Yard. I think you guys have too. But
it's one of my favorite parks.
I've been on the outside.
It's beautiful.
Looking in.
It's a unique design, just like Petco.
Yeah.
Because they left the warehouse there, and as you come in from the center field to the right field, there's concession stands with all of the food, and then you enter in. So you walk down this alleyway, so to speak, with the stadium on the right and the warehouses on the left, and it's just all this food and everything, and then you take a right-hand turn, and boom, you're in the right field stands.
Yeah.
It's absolutely gorgeous. I was lucky enough to be there the night that they honored Cal Ripken before he was going in the Hall of Fame with Tony. We just happened to go to the game that night, and they were honoring them. Beautiful ballpark.
It's not only a great ballpark, but the fans are just really kind, really nice.
Yeah.
Like it was. Yeah. I just we went when it was Manny's first game back to play the Orioles since he signed with the Padres. So we're there in all our Padre gear. And so we walk in where the old warehouse or whatever. And like one of the fans like, oh, is this your first time at the stadium? Oh, you got to go to the visitor center. Yeah. They'll give your kids baseball cards. And you'll get a little certificate saying it's your first game at Camden Yards. Like, oh, you got to do this and this and this and this. But just people just coming up and they were just so kind.
It must be a Baltimore thing because I went to 2 games when the Chargers played the Ravens. The San Diego Chargers played the Ravens. And the fans were the same way.
Yeah.
It was just like, I'm wearing Charger gear. That's how a game should be when you go.
Yes.
I don't mind trash talking. Hey, you suck. But when it comes to people getting in fights over this, you said, Oz said,
you're not on the team.
Yeah. Oz says your sister played $395. I mean,
I put that in earlier. Yeah. Yeah.
You paid $395. You don't want to go there where people are fighting. I mean, you're going to see a lot of, another reason people don't go to Dodger games is they're afraid. And then we've had a lot of fights at Petco this season. So yeah, when I was listening to Lucchino, they were talking about him on the radio today. I said, he should be considered for the Hall of Fame.
Oh, he absolutely should.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like he helped the Red Sox win 3 World Series. They hadn't won since, back in 1906. 1906,
Something like
1904,
that. 80 something years. Yeah.
Yeah, and I go, he was a very smart man. In fact, a lot of Charger fans, when they were begging Spanos to hire Lucchino to get the stadium done, but he hired someone who just bashed. His job was not to get the stadium done.
Exactly. That was.
But
that
if you would
was the strategy.
I mean, to get the Padres their own stadium was amazing.
Yeah,
and these two guys in the picture,
Yep.
Morris and Lucchino, they did something amazing. That again, they were always second fiddle to the Chargers.
Yeah.
But they just were smart about how they went about it.
Yep.
Well, there's been a couple of owners. Again, we haven't had all bad owners. That's but
Ray Kroc and
Ray Kroc saved them. I mean, they'd be talking about the Washington Padres. In fact, we wouldn't be talking about the Washington Padres.
Yeah, exactly.
I might be,
but then you got John Morris came in, and unfortunately caught him in a divorce. So that didn't help. And Peter Seidler
he got caught cheating.
Yeah. But let's hope that these
too smart.
these guys who are taking over the Seidler legacy sound like they are on the same page. That's easy to say. It's another thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta hope that they continue to. I mean, contractually, I guess we're lucky because we know Darvish, Musgrove, Machado, Tatis, and Bogarts are going to be around for a while,
and Cronenworth.
And Cronenworth.
Yeah. So
I actually think Cronenworth's contract is not bad,
especially if he keeps hitting the way he's hitting right now. Absolutely.
Well, you got to hope that he does what he's started the season, and again,
exactly,
good or bad.
And
it's been 7 games, guys. Let's not. let's.
What are you talking about? This is how it's going to be the whole season.
Still, he usually starts out slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap things up here. I will say we've talked about it. It's a little bit difficult doing these while we're still in the middle of a series. So I think we're gonna move to Thursday nights, which are more off days or like getaway game days. So usually earlier.
Wait, hold on. Oz, never say Tammy's right. Go ahead.
We have Colleen in the chat as well. Hello, Colleen. And yes, Aunt Tammy.
So one last thing, Jay. We got a few minutes, I think, since we're a little bit over anyway. We're going on the road for the first time.
Ooh, yes.
What's that portend for us?
Who are we playing first? Is it?
I think San Francisco.
Are we going to San Francisco again?
I think it's on the road trip.
Manny crushes in San Francisco.
I think we are definitely. I think that's one of the places we're going is San Francisco.
Let me try and pull up the schedule.
Yeah, I said San Francisco. So we're playing St. Louis, and then this weekend we're playing
the Gigantes,
and
then L.A.
Yeah,
and Smell A after that.
And the reason
is LA going on the road?
Yeah, I think the reason I bring it up is I remember, talking about some of the earlier teams, the 84 team, and I believe it was even the 98 team, and they said how important it was to see how a team bonds on the road.
Yep.
Because that's truly when you find out whether you like each other or not.
It's true.
It's easy to like each other when you show up to the same place every day and then you leave. It's a whole other thing when you're in the same hotel, you don't have family around anymore. You're who do I eat breakfast with?
Groupies.
Yeah. So
allegedly.
Let's look at the calendar coming up. It's a quick road trip. It's only San Francisco, and then they're back home to play the Cubs, and then they're going to LA the following week. So that if we do our show next Thursday, we will have had the Giants series and the Cubs series. It's a 3-game set against the Giants, so I guess you gotta hope it's 2-1 in our favor for that.
Yeah. Well, like Jerry said, you want to split against your division except the Rockies. The Rockies just look terrible.
Well, we can't split this one, so let's take 2 out of 3 there.
I think what's going to help us, we're not going to see Snell again. I mean, because he's not everything. He's not ready yet. So, when you can get done with the first week or 2 weeks of the season, and you've played 7 games against the Giants, who to me are going to contend for the division. That's 7 games out of the way. Out of the 12 you play against each other. So
Yep.
I think we're catching a little bit of a break, not having
Absolutely.
to face Snell. And not taking anything away from the rest of the people, but
Is
that's
the guy
one
that
less
pitched
person.
yesterday going to pitch?
I hope so.
St. Louis hit a home run.
I hope so. It should be around that time, Jack, because he pitched yesterday. He's got 3 games. That means he's going to be pitching this weekend. I would say Saturday.
Padres
it's
are
like
losing.
the losing. I thought they tied up.
No, it was a 2-run homer.
Oh, 2-run homer. Dang.
Yeah.
Darvish pitching a damn good game too. All right. Good point by Oz here. This is where the Korea trip kind of helped. They started bonding earlier this year, which I think is a good point. But yeah, so we've got Giants and then the Cubbies, and then we will be back on line to talk after that. All right. Well, I think we'll see. Hopefully, the Padres are currently losing 3-2. So hopefully they can get back.
What is it with the Cards?
I don't know. They're always a tough series for us. But anyway, that will do it for this episode of Padres Talking Padres. Again, thank you to Oz, Colleen, and Tamara in the chat. And then yeah, I think that's it.
The Hall of
Anything
Famers
else,
of our
gentlemen?
chat.
Yeah.
What?
So next Thursday.
Next Thursday,
8 something.
8 something. Hit subscribe to the bell so you don't miss it.
5 something, 6 something, somewhere around there.
So yeah, Eastern 8
For
something.
the number
Eastern,
1
5 something.
Padres Talking Padres talk show
telecast. Yep.
on YouTube.
All right, everybody. Take care. Hasta luego.
All right, guys.
Goodbye.